We actually have Igknights for you today. That's something I didn't think I would say. We also have double the Mathmech, double the trouble, and then we have some Menconco good stuff. Yeah, that's a lot. Alright, to the 30% of you that have not smashed the ever-living crap out of that subscribe button, smash it so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. So what in the world is going on here? Well, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. The fact that we even have an Igknight deck out here, and what is this, like the year 2023, that somebody actually managed to make this work, I got to clap for it. Like, this is the originality for this format. It might not be what you want to see, but it's still something at the end of the day, and that's a very good thing. So, I guess just dig on into this. So we have triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joyspring. We have triple copies of your Effect Veiler with 2 copies of your Fire Flint Lady. We have 1 copy of Ignis Phoenix. We have 1 copy of the Immortal Phoenix Gearfried with 2 Renault. We have 1 copy of the Majesty Pegasus with 1 Squeaky. We have triple copies of the Sublimation Knight with 2 copies of Bowline. We also have 1 copy of Reaper Fume, triple copies of the Igknight Crusader. We have 2 copies of the Igknight Paladin with 2 copies of the Squire. And then we have triple copies of Templar. And then we have 2 copies of the Durando. 1 copy of your Cult by the Grave. We have triple copies of Hadoken with 1 copy of Instant Fusion. 1 good old Rhoda, and then we have 1 Disc Coliseum and 1 copy of the Shade Brigade. And then we have 1 copy of Security Dragon, 1 copy of Lingaribo with 1 Nightmare Phoenix. We of course have 2 Assault because this is what makes this deck go round. We actually are playing 1 Draco Masters of the 10 Yi. You can actually make this, by the way, which is hilarious. We have 1 copy of Cross Sheep with 1 Boral Sword. We have 1 Apolloso with 1 Odd Eyes Absolute, 1 Giant Hand, 1 Dawn Dragster with 1 Draco Berserker, 1 Vortex Dragon, and 1 Rasian. Then we have triple copies of Lancia, triple copies of Sarvis, 2 copies of Cosmic Cyclone with triple copies of Forbidden Chalice. We have 1 Feather Duster and triple copies of Offering to the Doomed of all things here. Wrapping up your Igknight Turbo, aka make a sold, see how fast you can floor it to the ground to basically be able to make a relatively huge threatening board to your opponent. I really do like to see it. Next up here is our first Mathmech deck. Now, there was a regional in the UK, and what ended up happening was double Mathmech actually ended up succeeding out of that event, which is, once again, pretty impressive, honestly. The fact that you are seeing, decks out here like this actually get the chance to do something is kind of cool. Especially, we previously talked about that with the reduction of buy steals, seeing play in the format, that you would see more and more oddities like this kind of start to show up, and that is the case here. And I do know that for a fact that people have forgotten how good Mathmech actually is. The fact that this deck can essentially just OTK you out of left field is going to catch a lot of people off guard. And actually, oddly enough, we are playing a Small World package in here as well. That's something we started to see a little bit last format, but stuck around. So we have 1 Archfiend-centric with triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joyspring. We have 2 copies of Lava Golem with 2 copies of Addition. We have triple copies of Circular with triple copies of Dimeter. We have 1 Multiplication with 1 Nabla, 2 copies of Sigma. We have 2 copies of Subtraction with your triple Nibiru. We have triple copies of Parallel Exceed with triple copies of the Book of Eclipse. We also have triple copies of Sign Up Mining with your 1 Equation. We also have triple copies of Small World, 2 copies of Talents. We also have your 2 Infinite Permanents, 1 Super Infinite Impermanence, and 1 copy of Super Factorial. Down in the next trick, we have the 1 Update Jammer with your 1 Transcode Talker, 2 Splash Mage with 1 Owl Mirage, your 1 Lingaribo with your 1 Nightmare Unicorn, 1 IP with your 1 G-Golem Crystal Heart, 1 Heat Soul with your 1 Axis Code Talker, 1 Laplace with 2 Alan Burschen, and 1 copy of Final Sigma. Then we have triple Droll and Lockbird, 2 copies of Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood, triple Enemy Controller with your 1 Harpy's Feather Duster, triple Evenly Matched, and triple copies of good old Rivalry of the Warlords here so that you can floodgate your opponent out of the game, just so you can kind of get a chance to play. It's kind of like the Mathmech special, but once again, emphasis on how good Small World actually can be here for this deck. Now, we have a secondary Mathmech deck. Now, the first thing you're going to see here is there are no copies of Small World in this deck, all right? So you're going from one extreme to kind of like the other here. Now, this build wanted to main deck Imperial Iron Wall. This technically does stop your opponent from being able to buy steal you, like, turn, like, 3 on. Your turn, your opponent's turn, good, now the Imperial Iron Wall is on. Also stops, like, Kashtira from being able to capitalize, too. Like, that is kind of important in its own way. I mean, Cashier being able to set up and make some devastating effects is going to be an issue. And I see that we've also taken the initiative even further here to play Grave of the Super Ancient Organism to try to stop them. Very, very interesting. So we have triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joyspring. We have 2 Ghost Ball in the Haunted Mansion with 1 Ghost Ogre. We have 2 copies of Addition with triple copies of Circular. We have triple copies of Dimeter with 1 Multiplication. We have 1 Nabla with triple copies of Sigma. We also have 2 copies of Subtraction with triple copies of Nibiru. We also have triple copies of Parallel Exceed with your 1 Call by the Grave. We have 1 Change of Heart with triple copies of Sign Up Mining. We also have 1 Harpy's Feather Duster with 1 Equation, 2 Talents. Then we have triple copies of Evenly Matched, 2 Imperial Iron Wall, 2 Ripple Infinite Permanence, and 1 copy of, well, Super Factorial. Then we have 1 Update Jammer with 1 Transcode Talker, 1 Zero Boros with 1 Trisbania. We also have 1 Arrival. We have 1 Splash Mage with 1 Almirage. We have 1 Lingeribo with 1 G-Golem Crystal Heart. 1 Heat Soul with 1 Axis Code Talker. We have 1 Laplacian with 2 Alambertian. And 1 Final Sigma. And then we have 2 copies of Lancia, your 2 Spooky Dogwood, 2 copies of Token Collector, triple copies of Book of Eclipse, triple Twin Twisters, and of course, triple copies of Grave of the Super Ancient Organism here. So this is going to stop your level 6 or higher special monsters cannot attack or activate their effects. So that's going to be very important here for paralyzing, Unicorn and Fenrir from getting the chance to capitalize and actually be some threats to this deck. So good stuff. Then we have a Menconco good stuff deck, effectively. So, you're going to use the equips here. You're going to use, Abereske Water Rondo here, which will let you take control of your opponent's monster. And then, of course, once the Ohime comes down here, you're going to go ahead and do basic damage reflection shenanigans to your opponent. Is it super good? I mean, it's a deck that if players, once again, aren't really prepared for, they're going to lose the game. It's going to be a lot of what you're going to see in a lot of these styles of decks is if something becomes in the game state of they're not aware of what's going on, well, you'll win the game, effectively. It's pretty simple. We have triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joyspring with 2 copies of Hadre. We have 1 copy of Phoenix Gearfried with 1 Renauld. We have triple copies of Lava Golem with 1 Magician Souls. We have 2 copies of Nini. We also have 1 Griffin Rider with triple copies of Water Enchantress. We have 1 Illusion of Chaos with triple copies of Ohime. We have 1 Draco Bag with 1 Faithful Adventure. We have 2 copies of the Fire Dance with 1 copy of Mikanko Kagura. We have 1 copy of the Reflection Rondo. Triple copies of the Water Abereske with triple Preparation Rites. We have triple Rite of Armazir. 2 copies of the Great Menconco Ceremony. And then we have 1 Talents and 2 Thrust. Then we have 1 Celine with 2 out Balanix. I don't know why these were in here. We have 1 Anima with 1 Unicorn. We have 1 Isolde with 1 copy of IP. 1 Hito with 1 copy of the Dynamondo. We also have 1 Dahark, 1 Cross Sheep, 1 Codebreaker, 1 Asa, 1 Apollosa, and 1 Access Code. Then we have triple copies of Lancia, 2 Denko Rekka, 1 Illegal Knight, triple Space Rock, your 1 Arby's Feather Duster, 2 copies of Twin Twisters, and triple copies of Even the Fun here. Wrapping up, well, another interesting addition to kind of what's going on out here in the world of Menconco. I think this deck is actually pretty solid. Once we get the final piece to this deck, I think you're going to see a lot of people very happy to kind of see the next stage of evolution. Then we also have Dragon Link. Dragon Link, dragons. Oh my gosh, Dragon Link. I am happy to see that Dragon Link is seeing some play here. To be perfectly honest with you, this is still a relatively high number of buy steals, but the buy steals are the thing that makes Dragon Link effectively what it is now. And it's kind of a shame to see this deck stripped down so far from what it formerly was, but it's still a relevant deck that you kind of need to be aware of. Will it catch you off guard? Yeah, probably. So we have 1 copy of Absterata Dragon with the 1 Collapse Serpent, 1 Baldrake with your 1 Jerusalem. We have triple Magnet with 2 copies of Saronir. We also have 1 Lavioneer with triple copies of Nibiru. We have 1 Rocket Recharger with 1 Rocket Synchron. We have 2 Rocket Tracers with triple copies of Starleaf Safewort. We have triple copies of Lubellion with your 1 Wyvern Buster. We have 1 Boot Sector with 1 Brandon Regained. Triple Chaos Space with 1 Dark Ruler No More. 1 Dragon Ravine with 1 Harvey's Feather Duster. Triple Quick Launch with 2 Talents and 2 Thrust. We also have 1 Branded Beast and triple Imperm. And then you have the 1 Triple Burst, 1 Striker with 1 Quad Boral, your 1 copy Nightmare Unicorn with 1 IP, your 1 copy of Heretic Spheres, 1 Pisty with 1 Romulus, 1 Delidrus, 1 Dahark, 1 Boral End, and 1 Access Code. And then, of course, 1 Scarlight, 1 Borreload Savage, and 1 Baron. Then you got the triple Ash, your triple Gamma, 1 copy of Driver, triple Book of Eclipse, 2 Dark World No More with 2 Dimensional Barrier, and 1 copy of Eradicator Epidemic Virus, wrapping up your chunk of goodies for today. So what do you guys think about all of these lists? Is there anything that you really want to give a shot? Please leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Peace. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.